Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm here to salt your moon.
And I am SuperBrawl Shane Colvin.
Welcome to episode 293, SuperBrawl VIII.
Hogan versus Sting 2.
For the championship. It's not a tag.
No, it's just telling us what's happening.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Yes, in case you missed the last pay-per-view that they had.
Yeah. Would you buy this one if you saw that one?
Nope.
No.
We'll see if anybody did.
I might wait, 26 years later and watch it for $5 a month.
Yeah.
So this is the 8th annual Super Brawl, produced by WCW. Took place on February 22nd, 1998, from the Cow Palace in Daly City, California, with an attendance of 12,620.
Cow Palace, famous wrestling building.
That's right.
In a state that's not particularly well known or remembered for wrestling, just in general. California is not the biggest wrestling state. They had their moments over the history of wrestling, but they were never one of the number one hubs or markets.
Yes. Unless it's, a big show.
They like them a big show.
Yeah.
A Mania, a Super Brawl. I can't think of other ones that have been out there.
Yeah, when we talk about the great or legendary or promoters that get brought up when talking the history of the territory days, I don't know who the California guy is. Yeah. So that's basically what I'm saying. The Cow Palace, though, was the home of the first New Japan show I watched. As it was happening. It was the first show I watched live or the next day or whatever, but contemporary. Whenever I see it, I'm like, G1 Supercard.
Supercard with the triple threat, Cody versus Kenny and Kota.
Yeah, but that's where I fell in love with Jay White's heel work on that show.
See, I might need to go back and watch some of that Jay White stuff because
he was great in New Japan.
I've only been familiar with him in AEW, and
he hasn't really done.
Wasn't really the most exciting stuff.
No, it hasn't been. I'd say that it's. As somebody who was excited for him, I'm glad he's getting paid well and lives closer to his family. But what he was doing in New Japan was fun and exciting.
I think they'll probably
use him at some point
because they're going to Australia next year sometime. So
yeah,
I mean, I know he's New Zealander, so I'm not that if we have any listeners in Australia or New Zealand, but
they're kissing cousins.
Quirky, it's not the same.
So Shane, we are in Daly City, California.
Yeah, we are.
Suburb of San Francisco.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote down San Francisco, so I didn't even...
Yep, I wrote down Daly City. I was like, where the fuck is Daly City? I know we've been here before, but where are you located at? And then, it's a suburb of San Fran, so... But
did you do what you do?
I did. I did do what I do. Yes, here we are. Daly City, suburb of San Francisco, here in beautiful California. So yeah, I did what I do, and I looked up what's famous from San Francisco, what foods, beverages, that kind of thing, and it gave me a big variety of fish stews and not necessarily San Francisco. That one was particularly San Francisco, but then it started just throwing me regular California stuff like
rice
Mexican
roll.
Burritos and cheeseburgers and
burrito with French fries in it.
Yes.
Oranges. Remember when Sunny Delight was a thing? There was California style and Florida style. Those were the two flavors.
I mean, I remember when Sunny D was a thing, but I was never really a Sunny D drinker, so...
Yeah. I mean, they basically tasted the same.
I figured so.
Yeah. It's orange juice.
But I looked up specific things. I found a list of stuff that is famous from the Bay Area. You've got the martini, technically from Martinez, but that one was from back in 1849. You had the cable car from 1996. You had from 1862 a California milk punch. Yeah, that one sounded a little too out there. We had one called a Pisco punch. One that was a house cappuccino. I figured I'd save Matt the coffee drink and just have my little Dutch bros here. Apparently the Mai Tai is also from the Bay Area, but the one I went with here kind of fits into the show. We've got Hogan versus Sting. We've got Black and White versus Black and White. And one of the things that held over from the last show that they fought at was we needed some color. Coincidentally, what I brought is more of the Hulkamania colors, but you know, it's also got some classic Sting Beach Boy vibes.
I mean, yeah, the Surfer Sting changes makeup all the time.
We have the Tequila Sunrise. Claim to fame started in the 1970s. The creation of a Tequila Sunrise has quite an interesting story featuring Mick Jagger and a Sausalito bartender named Bobby Lazoff. As the story goes, Bill Graham needed a place to bring the Rolling Stones for a private party and chose the Trident in Sausalito. When Mick Jagger was at the bar, Lazoff suggested his cocktail creation, the Tequila Sunrise, instead of a margarita, and the rest is history. The Rolling Stones went on to call their next tour the Cocaine and Tequila Sunrise Tour and popularized the drink around the world.
That's crazy. I did not know it had any tie to the Rolling Stones or that it was that recent of a cocktail.
Same. I mean, I don't know.
But I guess,
most tequila drinks that I know of are, from like 60s and 70s craze, so that part doesn't surprise me as much. But the Mick Jagger Rolling Stones, I had no idea they had a hand in this drink.
It's pretty cool.
But yeah,
I imagine smashing these goes well with doing a bunch of quality cocaine.
Oh, I'm gonna guess probably so. This here is just a shot of Patron Silver. It's got like approximately 5 ounces of orange juice in it, and then just a little pour of grenadine to add some color to it, so you have that nice little orange and
it's also
reddish, pinkish.
Easier to mix in the tour bus than a margarita. If you want to make like a good margarita and not use margarita mix.
You do upside down margarita shots where you just pour in the tequila, pour in the OJ, add a little splash of grenadine, just spin it up and shake it. It's like step by step back in the day with the chocolate milk with the milk and chocolate syrup.
I'm glad you said that because it was going to drive me nuts. I was like, what sitcom did a thing like that? And it was step by step.
Yep. So I haven't had a tequila sunrise in I don't remember how long. And
tequila usually makes me sleepy.
Really?
Yeah.
You know that it's like one of the only like alcohol that's considered a like
aphrodisiac?
No, like I don't know what the correct term is or whatever, but it's supposedly like more of a like upper, if that's possible. Like supposedly it's not supposed to make you sleepy.
Yeah.
Or it's less likely to. I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
Back in the day, I couldn't find my off switch for tequila, so I would drink to the point that I have no memory. But I've here over the last... It started with the Paloma that we did for the fucking podcast.
Love a Paloma.
That was the first tequila drink I had in a long time where it was like, yeah, I could have another one of these. And then I've had another one since then, and I've had several others since then, and I've found my way back into being able to sip margaritas, and now I'm sitting here sipping a fucking tequila sunrise. So.
I mean, tequila's been my summer spirit for a couple years now, because I was always scared of it, because people either are the best drunks or the worst drunks on tequila.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, well, if I'm not drinking it to get like plowed, if I'm just gonna like have a couple cocktails, it's totally fine. I'm not shooting it. You're making a drink. You're not chugging it. So it's different.
My issue
also helps if you're using if you're using the shittier tequila, the shittier the drunk.
Yes. My issue with it in the past was like 10 years ago, I was at a point where I was only eating seafood for the entire year, and we went to Cancun for a wedding. And my first day there, it was just like shots. But I only had like a couple chips with some ceviche on it. And by the time we actually made it to dinner, Tequila Shane had I don't know, I guess Tequila Sunset more than a Tequila Sunrise. Because I don't really remember much of dinner, and it got to the point where...
or the weekend.
After dinner, I basically demanded that we all go dancing. So if anybody knows me, you know that Shane doesn't dance. So
Oh, yeah.
Tequila Sunset Shane was all about the dancing and hitting on married couples.
Sounds like a good time.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
As long as you didn't get punched, it was good.
Oh, no. I found out then that, in Cancun, you can find some very attractive Canadians.
Well, something that would happen right around the same time as SuperBrawl, the 40th Grammys were aired, celebrating the world of music over the last year. Hosted by Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
I saw that and that's an odd choice, but I mean,
I guess Fraser was killing it at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Dylan, Alison Krauss and Union Station, and R. Kelly won the most awards, tied with 3.
Yep.
We saw Sean Colvin win both Record and Song of the Year with Sunny Come Home.
Yep. She had a big year that year. This was the year of a lot of women winning.
Yeah, there was a whole Lilith Fair act. One of the performances was Paula Cole, Sean Colvin, and Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah.
Doing
Sheryl Crow was nominated for Every Day is a Winding Road, which, God, I remember the fucking summer that song played nonstop. Sheryl Crow is a whiny hoe. I remember singing that often.
But I got a question. You guys are music people.
Yeah.
Do you know what the difference between Record of the Year and Song of the Year is?
One goes to the writer, one goes to the producer?
Correct.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Which do you think is the more important?
I mean...
I always felt like the songwriter is the
more important. Yeah.
More important one.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's the same thing but if you look at it like Bernie Taupin wrote all those Elton John songs, but he sure the hell couldn't perform them like Elton John did. So,
but it's a producer award. It's not. It doesn't go to the.
Yeah.
So like when Sean Colvin won for Record of the Year, it went to John Leventhal, the producer. It didn't go to Sean Colvin. But when she won Song of the Year, it went to her as the songwriter.
Yeah.
Because I just think it's funny because like Gwen Stefani was actually nominated for Don't Speak for Song of the Year that year.
Yeah.
While it wasn't for Record, while Mbop was for Record of the Year. So I'm just like, I mean, we all know Mbop's not like the most well-written song ever.
And like Don't Speak is like actually about something. Where
exactly.
Mbop is just like it's just.
It's
weird.
Find it funny because like 9 times out of 10, it's the same songs in both categories.
This was the year that
but it's just every once in a while.
Trisha Yearwood.
Just a way to split. It's probably basically just a way to like give 2 popular songs an award. But like, yeah, it's like a producer should get an award for like production for a whole album if they produced the whole record. Like your Butch Viggs and even that annoying do nothing hippie, Rick Rubin.
Oh, I'm like, who's our annoying hippie? Who do we got?
Rick Rubin?
I hate him. I mean, he's pulled some great music out of some people, but it's just like, we don't have time. I just think he's obnoxious.
This was the album of the year, Bob Dylan, Time Out of Mind. I don't remember.
Who's heard? Raise your hand if you've heard that album.
I haven't. I've heard a lot of Bob Dylan records. I'm a Bob Dylan fan, but
yeah, this was when they were like, I think this year was Bob Dylan. Was the year after that where it was like Steely Dan or something like that?
Hey, no trash talk on Steely Dan.
Hey, I love me some Steely Dan, but when you're up against Eminem for the Marshall Mathers LP,
it was a bigger record.
Yeah, it's
a bigger record, but
that's like when Beck took down Beyonce. It was. It didn't make sense.
A lot of the times it gets to a time where they're like, it's time. It's time to give.
It was like the Beck album was better.
But there's always a chance that like it gets to a point where they're like, okay, well, we got to give this guy his flowers before he dies. It's like Al Pacino winning for
that's when you get a Lifetime Achievement Award. Don't give him a sympathy Grammy.
They do it all the time.
I know.
They do sympathy Oscars all the time.
That's why Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't have an Oscar for What's Eating Gilbert Grape. He has one for that movie that nobody's fucking seen where he lived inside a bear for...
Yeah.
The Remnant was a great movie.
It's a good movie.
Sure, but not many
it's not his best
have
performance. It's not his best performance.
It's pretty good.
It's a good movie, but it's not my favorite movie.
There is no match in the gas tank, boom, boom, though.
But yeah, so Bob Dylan was probably one of those things. Yeah. Same with Steely Dan, where they're like, well, it's time to give it to them.
But on a fun note, Bob Dylan and Jacob Dylan both won Grammys this year. For Jacob Dylan won for One Headlight. What else we got? Paula Cole was Best New Artist. Sarah McLachlan won for Building a Mystery, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. Elton John, Candle in the Wind.
Oh, yeah, man. Remember that? The best-selling single and CD single of all time, probably.
Ooh, Jamiroquai for Virtual Insanity.
Yeah, that's a great song and album.
OK Computer was Best Alternative Album.
Yeah.
I mean, it deserves it. I'm not even a big Radiohead fan, but I think that OK Computer is a wonderful record.
I mean,
I haven't
listened to the Bob Dylan or OK Computer, and I'll probably just go.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never listened to the Bob Dylan album, but OK Computer, I feel should have beat Bob Dylan.
When they get to when an artist has 60 albums, I normally just start at the beginning, and if I like it, then it's like, all right, well, I can't listen to all of these, but the first 5 or 6 are probably great. And that's where I am with Bob Dylan. It's like, I love Bob Dylan, but it's only those first handful of records that I know, but I know them inside and out. Same with Elvis Costello. I'm like, after album 5, I'm tapping out.
Best country song, Butterfly Kisses.
Oh, good God. Hated that fucking song. Why couldn't it gone to one of the Diane Warren, Bob Carlyle?
Bob Carlyle.
That's a really bad song title.
Yep. It's about dancing with his daughter on her wedding day.
Okay, well, that's sweet, but...
Oh, we had Jewel, Foolish Games. I loved me some Jewel back in the day. Best New Artist, back when I actually knew the best new artists. You had Paula Cole.
These are 5 people that you actually know who they are.
Yeah, well, yeah, but nobody watches the Grammys anymore, and with the internet, there's no, monoculture, really.
You had Hanson. You had Mr. recently jailed Puff Daddy. You had Erykah Badu, Fiona Apple, and then Paula Cole was the winner.
And literally, Paula Cole probably had the worst career out of all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got that Dawson. I probably
would have gave it to Erykah Badu.
If I had to given it to Fiona Apple, but
oh yeah, I guess either one of them. They're kind of they're pretty similar in a weird way. Ladies that move to the beat of their own drums. Independent women.
But enough about music from 1998.
Yes.
Let's talk some SuperBrawl VIII. Black and white video of Hogan, Sting, and Savage with narration appears. There was a time when darkness fell on WCW, when one man was abandoned and banished, another came to rule. Then good and evil clashed, and the darkness was lifted, and WCW became one once again. Now the battle continues. Out of an army of shadows, the purveyor of good enters the ring once again to vindicate a wrong that must be righted. A man with hatred in his heart seeks to destroy this vindicator from the sky, but can he do so without ruining all that surrounds him? Tony Schiavone welcomes everyone to the show, joined by Mike Tenay and Bobby the Brain Heenan. They talk the main event, but bring up that there are questions surrounding the NWO and Macho Man, with Tenay believing we will get those answers tonight.
Ooh.
Bobby speculates about why Luger and Savage were seen talking to each other on Thunder, followed by saying it's a must-win for Hollywood Hogan.
Dissension in the NWO.
Black and white versus black and white versus black and white.
So we go to our first
Black
match. Booker T versus Rick Martel for the WCW World Television Championship.
Oh, you guys, the intro to this match made me really happy because I don't remember any of this timeline here. So,
but Rick with belt.
Yep,
Rick with a belt. The crowd is pretty hype.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know.
So last time we saw Booker was at World War III, 1997, episode 282. And Tony lets us know that the winner will face Perry Saturn right afterwards, as the Flock makes their way to their front row seats.
This is some ECW style shit.
So, over the last few weeks, Perry and the flock had jumped Booker T, with Rick making a save. But Saturn tried to create dissension by shoving them into each other, starting an argument. Now, Martel was fed up with Perry, so when Saturn's opponent on TV was attacked by the flock, Rick would challenge him, only to get tapped out. But despite this, Martel would defeat Booker later in the evening to win the belt, when Perry would interfere. So the tensions between the three men led J.J. Dillon to make this set of matches to determine the champion. Not a three-way.
No.
Two separate matches.
Two separate matches.
Those aren't super common.
Somebody is going to wrestle twice.
Correct.
Yeah, that's... Oh, Jage.
It looks like 2 ways to go with this. We'll talk about it when we get there.
So Rick goes in for a handshake, only for Booker T to slap his hand and duck a surprise attack, before controlling the action with a back body drop and a clothesline that sends Martel to the floor. Now back in the ring, Rick fires back with right hands and knees, but Booker comes back with a back elbow, arm bars, heel kicks, knee drop, and a thrust kick for a 2 count. Booker T continues with arm bars, followed by a hip toss that sees Martel's knee hit the ropes. And this would tear his MCL. So remember that, as he continues to wrestle an entire match.
Yeah, this is pretty early, and if you've been listening.
So Booker charges into a corner, only to get back body dropped to the outside before knocking him off the apron with a forearm that would send Booker T crashing into the railing. Rick would focus on Booker's back with axe handles, running him into the apron, stomps, and forearms. But Booker T would avoid a charge into a corner, allowing him to answer with a side slam. But he misses an elbow drop, only to spin a Rooney up, and now a jumping forearm. Martel then catches Booker charging at him with a power slam and a spine buster, followed by locking on the Quebec Crab. But Booker T,
the crowd's booed,
is able to make the ropes.
I do love this hot crowd. They got their Martel sucks chance going on. I don't feel the same way, but I understand he's the heel.
Rick attempts a springboard crossbody off a whip to a corner, only for Booker to use the momentum to roll through for a near fall.
Springboard with a torn MCL.
Booker T then goes for an O'Connor roll that gets a 2 count, before being taken down by a clothesline for a near fall by Martel. And Booker's sent to the ropes and ducks a pair of clotheslines, followed by nailing another jumping forearm, a scissor kick, and a spine buster. Booker T then heads up top, only for Rick to avoid a crossbody. So he heads up for a flying axe handle, but Booker connects with a Harlem sidekick on his way down for the pin and the win. And And this is the last time we will see Rick Martel in the ring. He does return for one more match in July versus Stevie Ray on an episode of Nitro.
Okay.
But he ends up injuring his neck in that match.
Jeez.
And just decides to retire at that point.
I'd say that was probably the best.
So you say you don't remember this time frame.
That's why.
This is why.
That's because he just came back, gets hurt after healing from so it's like, okay, it's like I get the hint, God, I guess I'll stop wrestling.
Exactly.
Right? Good grief.
It's a bummer because he looks great, but when you're older, you're just going to be more injury prone.
Yep.
Yeah.
No matter how good a shape you're in.
Huh. I wonder if the plan was for him to lose, or was that called on the fly?
I think he was going to lose.
Maybe we'll find out.
Huh.
So we go to our second match. Booker T versus Perry Saturn for the WCW World Television Championship. Champ was technically already in the ring.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Just for me looking on the outside, it seems like this is set up for Saturn to win with Booker T and or Rick Martel, whoever would have won the first match, to lose without getting too much on them, having an out, having already wrestled a match. But we'll see how they decided to book this out.
So Perry jumps Booker, locking him in the rings of Saturn. But Booker T's able to reach the ropes. So Perry goes for several pin attempts to end it early, only for Booker to kick out. And Saturn tosses Booker T out to the floor, where the punishment continues, with Perry sending the champ into the railing and the ring post.
Posted.
Booker fights back to return the favor, but he's too tired to capitalize. So Saturn works him over with strikes back inside the ring. And Booker T reverses a whip and runs into a big boot. So Perry charges out of the corner, only for Booker to catch him with a desperation power slam. Saturn clotheslines the champ out of the ring, following out with a slingshot crossbody and a springboard pump splash. When they return to the ring, Booker T rallies with clotheslines and forearms, but Perry avoids a sidekick, allowing Saturn to take Booker to the turnbuckles for a super back suplex. Perry then goes for a superplex, but Booker blocks and drops Saturn with a front suplex down to the mat, before leaping off the top with a missile dropkick.
Sick missile dropkick.
And a spinning wheel kick.
He's got educated feet.
Yep.
Perry then ducks a clothesline and locks on a full Nelson, transitioning it into a T-bone suplex that leaves both men down. And Saturn's back to his feet first to deliver more suplexes for 2 counts, followed by a springboard moonsault. Perry then sends Booker T to a corner, but he leaps up and off the top rope with a crossbody, only for Saturn to sidestep it. But more running of the ropes leads to both men going for leaping forearms that ends in a double KO. And back to their feet, Booker runs into a power slam, only to then avoid a corner charge to deliver a spinebuster. Booker T then hits a scissor kick and a side slam, before going to the top for a Harlem hangover. But Perry moves in time. Saturn hits a bridging fisherman suplex for a near fall, a bridging German for a 2 count, and he goes for a back suplex, only for Booker to flip out and nail a Harlem sidekick for the pin and the win.
And still.
So to answer your question, Booker was not supposed to win the first match.
Oh, wow.
So they called this completely on the fly.
That's wicked.
Well,
Then that really makes you wonder, was Saturn supposed to win, or was it going to be Martel keeping it?
I think that...
Who knows?
I think Saturn
I think Martel was supposed to keep it.
Really?
Yeah.
It would have done a good job for him as a heel, but Saturn is Saturn a heel?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it feels like Booker would have won, because he's working towards face. He's a face at this point, right?
Yeah, he's face, and I think Martel is pretty much face.
They were both faces.
He's still fairly new to the brand, so
they were booing him. He did some heelish stuff in the match. Makes Booker look great.
And the back office thought so as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the match that kind of opened their eyes to what Booker could be.
He started to do singles matches and have been pretty good, but yeah, I can see.
Back office looked to the ring and said, "I appreciate you, Booker man."
Also, the fact that they pulled this off on the fly, it's like that was probably more Booker than Saturn. I don't know. They've probably been wrestling around the same time, but Booker had been working for this company longer.
Yes.
We go backstage where Chris Jericho's in the WCWWrestling.com room with Mark Madden and Lee Marshall. Lee asks if Jericho will take Juventud's mask for his trophy collection, with the response being, he'll take it whether we want to see Juvi's face or not.
And I, for one, do not. Don't take his mask.
So we go to our third match, La Parka versus Disco Inferno. And the story behind this match was that losing streaks had frustrated both men. When Disco would defeat Yuji Nagata, it would make Parka jealous. So he tried his hand against Yuji, only for Inferno to interfere and cost La Parka the win. And the chairman didn't take this well, attacking Disco multiple times to set this match up.
And La Parka is the chairman of WCW because he's taken a liking to beating people up with chairs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I wasn't sure if he was the chairman the last time we saw him.
Playing him with guitars.
Yeah.
So the last time we saw both of these guys was at World War III, 97, episode 282. And the chairman of WCW comes out with a chair. Shocker, I know. And he attempts to use it when Inferno comes into the ring. But the ref stops him. So Parka just throws the steel at him instead, charging in only for Disco to move in time. And the two trade clotheslines and power slams until the Parka takes control with a short arm clothesline and a wheel kick that sends Inferno to the floor to regroup. Only for Parka to follow out with a corkscrew plancha before doing some dancing. And the Parka keeps up the attack by tossing Disco into the railing before dropping him onto it as well. And back in the ring, Parka then misses a top rope splash. So Inferno takes the fight back to the floor to repeat the guardrail spots that were done to him. And
Eye for an eye.
Disco then tries to bring the Parka back in the ring the hard way, but he gets hot-shotted on the top rope, allowing Parka to regain control with kicks and wearing down Inferno with a chinlock, followed by a La Magistral for a 2 count and a drop kick, when he sends Disco over the ropes with the body scissors. And the Parka flies to the ropes with a tope suicida, which Heenan asks if that comes with chips and salsa.
Oh, Bobby. Racist shit your uncle said.
And then we turn to the ring where Inferno catches Parka charging in with a boot and delivers a Manhattan drop and a jumping clothesline for a near fall, before nailing a swinging neckbreaker for a 2 count. Disco stomps Parka down in the corner, but clips the ref as he winds up for a roundhouse punch.
Ref bump.
Allowing the Parka to grab a chair, ramming Inferno's head into it, and sit him on the chair. Parka then heads up top, only for Disco to knock him down, causing the Parka to crotch himself, followed by attempting a superplex. But Parka blocks, so Inferno press slams the Parka right onto the chair. Disco then delivers a chartbuster for the pin and the win.
This chartbuster is a stunner, a diamond cutter, a cutter, or whatever you want to call it.
It's more of a stunner.
Yeah, it is more of a stunner.
Not a huge Disco, but I thought it was a fun match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, we got...
It was fine. I didn't love it.
It had a storyline going into it.
Yeah.
There was no run-in.
They worked it well.
The NWO did
good
not
point.
get
Good
involved.
point. Yeah. Raven didn't come into the ring and cry. Good point. Because as I was watching this one, I was like not feeling it, but in hindsight, we've seen so much worse.
Didn't feel like anybody was being punished by being put into this match.
Mean Gene Okerlund and J.J. Dillon are in the aisleway. Mean Gene asks about the possible reinstatement of Nick Patrick. JJ saying they have made a decision and asks Patrick to join them. Now some backstory on Nick. He had been suspended after Starrcade, but he pushed for reinstatement, claiming he did nothing wrong, with Hogan agreeing and even offering to pay for Patrick's lawyer, because Hollywood wanted Nick as the ref for the main event.
Yeah. He didn't do a fast count. The fast count is a lie.
Yeah.
But in kayfabe, the fast count happened.
I don't know how they count in Canada, but that was not a fast count.
So Dillon says that the executive committee has voted to reinstate Patrick immediately. So Nick begins to jump around in celebration.
He even hugs JJ.
Kissing Okerlund on the cheek. Calling it the happiest moment in his life.
Oh, Nick.
And Patrick says he's so glad that he can vindicate himself in the main event, that he'll call it right down the middle. But Dillon interrupts him to tell Nick that he's not the official for the main event.
You were reinstated tonight. You start tomorrow.
Yep.
JJ walks away at this point, only for Patrick to continue to complain, because if he's reinstated, he's the lead official.
Not anymore.
They shouldn't draw straws, before turning his attention to his back pay and chasing after Dillon.
Yeah, that sounded a little heelish to me.
Yeah. I get why they're doing TV segments on pay-per-view, but at least in this But if that was my first thought, I was like, why are we doing this? Like, oh, wait a second.
If you're gonna
because we're going to have a main event later that involves Hulk Hogan.
if you're going to give away main events, like pay-per-view quality matches on Monday Nitro, then why not just make people pay for TV segments on their pay-per-views? It's the yin and the yang.
Yeah,
it's keeping both sides even.
It's WCW, baby.
Hey, it's storyline.
Hey, it is.
Building.
It's important.
It's building.
It's important.
So we go to our fourth match. Brad Armstrong versus Bill Goldberg. And the last time we saw Armstrong was at World War III, 97, episode 282. And this is a special, unannounced match. It took the place of what was supposed to be Larry Zbyszko versus Louis Spicolli.
R.I.P.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Pretty sad, buddy.
Thanks for coming, Brad.
So Brad goes for a waistlock, but Bill turns it into a full Nelson and a leg trip. So Armstrong fires back with forearms, only for Goldberg to answer back with knees, kicks, and a rolling leg lock, forcing Brad to make the ropes.
Brad looks small next to Goldberg.
Yeah.
Goldberg's most people do, but it's like, never thought of Brad Armstrong as like a small guy, but Goldberg is a big guy.
You never see Brad next to Road Dogg. Never seen a picture of them together.
Maybe they're only brothers in name.
Bill keeps up the attack with a gorilla press power slam and an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. But Armstrong rallies once more with strikes and a side Russian leg sweep. However, Goldberg no-sells it to make it back to his feet to deliver a pump handle suplex, a spear, and a one-handed jackhammer for the pin and the win.
That ab stretch, like pump handle suplex was crazy. It's like, damn.
Yep, that's our 90s era Goldberg. Did all that one-handed crazy shit, just genetic freak.
I mean, it's cooler than the spear jackhammer 1, 2, 3.
Exactly.
I am enjoying Goldberg doing a little bit of something.
So our Goldberg counter is at 38 wins, 0 losses, and 2 no contests.
Ooh.
He had another no contest with Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Chavo wouldn't take the
one
bid.
Would expect.
Chavo was like, I can't. It's like, Chavo, you're smaller than Brad Armstrong. Like, just take the pin.
I wonder if. Well, no. I was gonna say, I wonder if Eddie's using that U.S. Championship poll, but no, I forgot he's not on the show.
So we go to our 5th match.
No more tequila for you.
Juventud Guerrera versus Chris Jericho in a title versus mask match for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. And Chris doesn't take the belt off, and he begins the match wearing it, using strikes and arm wringers to gain control, until Guerrera kicks him in the gut, which causes Jericho to get the wind knocked out of him because of the belt. So he finally takes it off.
Pretty funny little spot. I don't know if it's the first time we've heard the song, but Break the World?
Yeah.
Felt new.
Yeah, they started a few times ago.
Yeah.
Not so much a fan of it.
I mean, you know.
I get it. I mean, I understand why, but...
Yeah, they don't want to pay royalties, so... Hoovy continues with forearms, a spinning heel kick, and a head scissor takedown, before using the ropes for a springboard wheel kick and a springboard hurricanrana, sending Chris out to the floor, where he plays possum to get counted out, when Guerrero realizes and drops an elbow, bringing Jericho back into the ring.
He's getting, Jericho's having a good time being a little funny man, a little shithead.
Hoovy with chops, only for Chris to fire back with a German suplex. But Guerrero flips out and goes for a Rana, with Jericho dropping him throat first on the ropes.
Damn.
Hoovy then rolls to the apron, so Chris nails a springboard dropkick to knock him to the floor, where Jericho then vaults off the steps, only for Guerrero to catch and hotshot Chris on the railing. And they head back inside with Hoovy going for a springboard crossbody. Jericho catches him and turns it into a tombstone piledriver for a 2 count.
Damn.
Guerrero then fires up with a victory roll for a near fall, only for Chris to respond with a big kick, a vertical suplex, and a senton for a 2 count. Jericho continues with a backbreaker, bending Juvi over his knees, telling the ref to ask him because he heard him give up. But Guerrera breaks free and tries for another Rana, only for Chris to counter into an electric chair drop. And Jericho heads up top when Juvi leaps up to drop kick Chris out to the floor, causing Jericho to start walking to the back, only for Guerrera to springboard off the ropes with Air Juvi right onto Chris. And Guerrera drags Jericho back to the ring to deliver a Michinoku driver. Before heading up top for the 450 splash for the pin and the win. And no! But the ref noticed that Chris had hold of the ropes. So he tells Juvi that the match continues, with Jericho nailing a chop block while Guerrera is arguing with Mickey J. And Chris picks up Juvi for a bridging German, only for Guerrera to counter it into a victory roll for a 2 count, followed by countering a powerbomb into a DDT for a near fall.
Damn.
Juvi then takes Chris to the turnbuckle, but Jericho blocks a super Frankensteiner by shoving him off. He then goes for a double axe handle, which Guerrera catches him to counter into a Manhattan drop. Juvi goes to the apron for a springboard Rana, only for Chris to roll through, but Guerrera rolls back through, with Jericho then bridging up into a reverse vertical suplex. Chris then goes for a lion salt, only for Juvi to move and go for another victory roll. But Jericho blocks and attempts to apply the lion tamer, which Guerrera counters into a victory roll for the pin. And no! Chris kicks out. Juvi then loops onto the shoulders for a hurricanrana, only for Jericho to reverse it into the lion tamer for the submission and the win.
I mean, it's a nasty finish. That was a deep lion tamer.
Yep.
Post-match, Chris demands the ref raise his hand, followed by asking for a mic, saying, "I did it! I really did it!"
Crowd boos.
Before thanking his Jericho-holics and dedicating the win to them. Guerrera starts to leave the ring, but Chris reminds him to take the mask off. Bro, comparing Juvi to Quasimodo, calling him Quasi-Juice.
I know, but who takes the mask off? He's a very pretty boy. Mm-hmm. Handsome man.
A lot of times that's how it works.
Sorry, Ray.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's how it works.
So yeah, as Guerrera's untying his mask, you can hear him tell his dad that he's sorry, because his dad was a masked wrestler as well.
Yeah.
And that he loves him. With Jericho mocking him the entire time, saying it's just taking way too long. So Chris comes over and just rips the mask off to take with him.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes a guy is handsome and you're like, what are you doing with his mask on? But not all wrestlers, like, Greg Valentine. It's a face made for a mask.
Exactly.
But Juventud Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, face made for a mask.
Yeah, you've got Andrade that wears a mask to the ring and takes it off because you don't hide that face.
Yeah. Would have liked. I like Juventud Guerrero.
Yeah.
I don't want to take his mask off, but I'm glad that Jericho kept it because this title has been hot potatoed too much recently. As soon as it meant something, it's just been through so many hands that I'm glad that it's staying on the same person.
Yeah. I mean, I know we don't watch the weekly episodes, but it just seemed really soon for a title versus mask match. But
I mean, maybe Juvi was just willing to take the mask off.
I mean, basically Jericho wouldn't, kept telling him, no, not going to give you a match, And then Juvi was like, I'll put my mask up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's the storyline, not the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Jericho would have had a match with anybody at this point.
So there is something cut from the network right here. It's Chris Benoit in the WCWWrestling.com room saying he judges people based on their actions and not words, with Raven very close to finding out why they call him the Crippler.
Eesh.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, I understand it.
Yeah, good call on the cut, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I'm not a fan of, like, erasing history, but I understand in situations like family annihilation. So, like, the worst thing you can do, it's like, all right, we can be a little sensitive at times.
So we go to our sixth match. Steve Mongo McMichael versus the British Bulldog. And the last time we saw Davey Boy was at Survivor Series 97.
I know.
Episode 281.
Easy. He's back in the WC.
He came, Brett, if Mongo wins, we riot.
Yeah.
So McMichael charges in, only be taken down by a drop toe hold and strikes. But Mongo answers with a tilt-a-whirl slam and strikes of his own. Bulldog avoids a leg drop and starts to attack the leg, which leads to a sharpshooter, forcing McMichael to reach the ropes. Mongo with an eye rake to change the momentum, stomping away and rubbing Davey Boy's face into the mat, followed by tossing him out to the floor. And McMichael leaps out with a double axe handle to continue the punishment, ramming Bulldog into the railing and the ring steps, before going to deliver a forearm, only for Davey Boy to move, causing McMichael to hit hard on the ring post.
Yeah, wrist to the post.
So Bulldog takes advantage, focusing on the injury, ramming it into the guardrail, the steel steps, and the turnbuckles back inside the ring. Mongo then reverses a whip to send Davey Boy so hard to the corner, he flips upside down, before setting up for the 3-point stance. But his wrist gives out.
I mean, I popped for this. I laughed very hard.
So McMichael uses his other hand and nails several chop blocks. Mongo then goes to lift Bulldog, but the pain is too much. So Davey Boy locks in a Fujiwara armbar, causing McMichael to scream in pain until the ref calls for the bell.
No tap or visual give up. He just screams out and the ref calls up.
Post-match, the commentators mention that they never saw Mongo tap. And it seems he agrees as McMichael grabs the ref, yelling, "I didn't tap!"
So we're running it back.
Mongo shoves Scott Dickinson down and storms to the back, claiming the ref just gave Bulldog the match.
So he's going to be fine for that, right?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
So we go to our seventh match. The Crippler, Chris Benoit, versus Diamond Dallas Page for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship.
They say it's a rematch.
And the two slap hands out of respect before trading arm work until DDP lands some back elbows, forearms, and a gutbuster. Page goes for a suplex, only for Benoit to reverse to drop DDP onto the top rope, before taking DDP down into a crossface, but Page escapes to the floor immediately to regroup. And they go back and forth in a knuckle lock that turns into multiple pin attempts by each, followed by DDP hitting a back suplex and goes for the diamond cutter, only for the Crippler to escape to the floor to regroup this time.
It was fun to see, normally DDP pulls off that spot first, but Chris did it first this time. Makes sense.
Then back in the ring, the two get into each other's face, jawing away when they begin trading slaps and punches, until Page delivers a wheelbarrow suplex for a 2 count. Benoit retaliates with a drop kick to the knee, clotheslines, turnbuckle smashes, stomps, and begins to wear down DDP with a hold. But Page rallies several times, only for the Crippler to continuously slow the momentum by staying on the attack with stomps, suplexes, and holds, until DDP can escape by dumping Benoit over to the floor out of desperation. And the Crippler comes back in and goes to the top, only for Page to fall onto the ropes, causing Benoit to crush himself, allowing DDP to climb up to nail a superplex. Now back to their feet, Page finds a new surge of energy for a tornado clothesline for a near fall, before the Crippler just yanks DDP through the ropes. Page is right back to fly off the top with a clothesline for a 2 count. DDP then goes for a suplex, only for Benoit to counter it into a crossface. But Page's boot makes the ropes. So the Crippler looks to hit a suplex of his own, which DDP counters into an inside cradle for a near fall. And Benoit fires back with turnbuckle smashes and chops when a reversed whip allows Page to deliver a belly-to-belly suplex for a 2 count. But the Crippler answers with 3 rolling German suplexes for the pin. And no, DDP kicks out. And Benoit keeps up the attack with stomps and goes for a hip toss after a whip to the ropes, only for Page to counter it into a DDT for a near fall. And DDP goes for his finisher, but the Crippler reverses it into a backslide attempt, only for Page to block, flipping Benoit in front of him to nail the Diamond Cutter for the pin. And the win.
This was great. Chris Benoit lost nothing with this performance. And yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want to see everywhere, but especially in WCW. It's in this point in time where it's like, all right, well, we've had fun with the cruisers. They typically deliver good to great matches, but outside of the cruisers, the good to great matches have been fewer and further between, and this was, quality in entertainment and skill. It helps that it's Diamond Dallas Page and Chris Benoit. It helps that DDP is over, and that Chris has something to prove, but yeah, this is what I want to see.
Agreed.
So the commentators talk about the Giant and his injury. Tony saying that he's received a note saying that his flight had been delayed, so fans will have to wait until Nitro for an update. With Tenay believing there was an improvement in his condition, because he's basically been out since he got dropped on his head by Kevin Nash.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen that get dropped on his head, if you've seen the clip, if you watch the match, he had a good reason to be out.
And speaking of that clip, they then show a video with the Giant doing his taunt, hitting choke slams, and then the botched jackknife in slow
drop
motion.
Yeah, it's still brutal, and they make sure you remember it.
We then go to our 8th match. Macho Man Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth versus Lex Luger in a no DQ match.
Lex Luger and medical tape, because he is wrapped like a mummy.
Oh, yeah.
The ribs. It's rib injury.
Quit stealing DDP's gimmick.
Exactly.
Hey, he was done with it for now.
Yeah,
Was he taped up?
Yeah, he had like...
When he's taped up.
That's a good point.
He wore like a
famous
black strap around his, as opposed to Lex with his white tape.
Yeah.
So the story behind this match was that Savage had complained that Lex only won their sold-out match because of NWO's interference. So he told Hogan he didn't need their help anymore. But Hollywood wanted to show Macho the pecking order, interrupting Savage's match versus Sting on an episode of Nitro, causing Macho to lose. And Hogan would demand an apology, only to receive a right hand to the face instead.
Get him.
Meanwhile, Luger and Savage had been interfering in each other's bouts as well, attacking with chairs, so they agreed to make this counter no DQ. Then this past Thursday, Bischoff made Hollywood and Macho work together to face the Stinger and Lex, but ended with the NWO fighting it out, followed by Savage and Luger being caught speaking backstage. So the beatdown continued. Like the NWO found them, dragged them out to the ring, and just kept beating them down, basically.
Both of them or Luger?
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
And that's why Lex's ribs are wrapped.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And Lex avoids Macho's attack when he enters the ring, attempts a press slam, but his ribs won't allow it. So Savage pounces on the injury with boots and tossing Luger to the floor. And Savage rams Lex into the railing before taking him back in to continue the punishment with more strikes, chokes, and double axe handles for a 2 count. And Macho goes for a slam, only for Luger to cradle him up for a near fall. But Savage retaliates by tossing Lex back out to the floor, where he head slams Lex into the guardrail and steel steps several times, before hitting forearms, axe handles, and chair shots, all to the ribs. And they return to the ring, where Macho nails a vertical suplex, only for Lex to Luger up, delivering a power slam and getting Savage up into the torture rack.
Fight through the pain.
When Liz would jump in the ring to rake Lex's eyes, which also would bring out the NWO. Macho and Luger team up to fight them off when someone would ring the bell, all while the camera misses Lex getting Savage back up into the rack for the submission and the win. Post-match, Hogan tells the boys to forget about Macho.
Call the goons off.
He's glad he got beat, and he's a piece of trash before the NWO leaves to the back.
Big words there, Hoagie.
Yeah. This felt like it was just a continuation of an angle, but it wasn't fun. I wanted it to be fun, but I'm not against the angle in general.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a storyline match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, okay, all right. If I had seen that other stuff, maybe, but it's like, well, I wonder if Macho Man and Lex Luger are gonna have a match. I'd like a match.
We've seen them have matches.
We'll see them have other matches, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will. They're both in the same company for another 3 years. Yeah.
So we got our 9th match. The Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash with Dusty Rhodes, versus the Steiner brothers of Rick and Scott Steiner with Ted DiBiase for the WCW World Tag Team Championships.
Crowd is hot, as they should be. Mm-hmm. There's 4 stars here, and Nash and Hall are both in the building.
And they decide to have a survey, which of course the NWO wins, as it's one more for the good guys. As Tony says that 50 cents in that survey will buy him a cup of coffee.
Oh, the good old days where you could buy a cup of coffee for 50 cents. Oh, spoiler, we're recording this on National Coffee Day.
Oh, really?
So I mentioned this on Sold Out, but the Steiners had lost the belts to the Outsiders. But a couple of weeks ago, the Steiners had regained them when Rick had made a blind tag and nailed a flying bulldog for the win, which Scott seemed annoyed about, but he still hugged his brother to celebrate.
Yeah, Scott's been a bit of a glory hog as of late.
A little bit.
Also, another fun fact that, just so it's out there, WCW had banned the powerbomb from being used after the Giant incident.
Yeah.
The wording was for everyone, but Kevin is really the only one that ever gets fined or DQ'd for using it.
Okay.
Because there would be cruiserweights using it, but they never got in trouble. And Kevin actually used that as like a gimmick, basically, like complaining about WCW, like, you're only doing it to me.
Well, you could drop the guy on his head.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like, well, if you're going to ban it, you got to do it for everybody. It's his cross to bear.
Yeah. So Hall starts this match off by tossing his toothpick into Rick's face before trading strikes, headlocks, and shoulder blocks, when Rick would deliver a Steiner line and a belly-to-belly suplex to take Hall down. Rick with mounted punches in a corner, another suplex, when Nash would jump in, only to receive a Steiner line to send him over the ropes to the floor. And Scotty would enter for the Steiners to do their pose, when he would wink at the Outsiders.
No, I'm
going
to cry.
And Rick with a double axe handle across the back of the head,
yeah,
leaving everyone stunned.
Why do your heroes disappoint you?
Scotty then hits a tiger bomb, knocks DiBiase off the apron, who's then thrown into a ring post by Dusty.
Fans pop and I boo.
Dusty's getting his payback for Sapphire finally.
Gives the Wolfpack signal, followed by Hall making the cover for the pin. And Rick kicks out.
He's still got fight in him.
That's right.
Steiner fights out of his opponent's corner with strikes, when Kevin would deliver a clothesline from the apron, allowing Hall to nail the outsider's edge for the pin
And the win.
Post-match, officials help Ted to the back, while Scotty celebrates with the outsiders.
Boo.
Throws the ref out and hands the belts to Hall and Nash, raising their hands. And Hall says to the camera that it's one more for the good guys, as the group heads to the back.
Trash is thrown into the ring. Scott Steiner points to his bicep. He holds the ropes open for the outsiders, and I hate it, and it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. Scotty basically bitched himself out of this match. And
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's a heel turn, but he made himself look weak in the process. Because
it looks like he needs...
Here, sir, let me hold this rope for you.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink. Here's the belts for you, sirs. And new?
Yeah. Can you celebrate champions that won like
I
that?
totally forgot to do that.
Yeah. Because the bigger story here is that he beat up his brother.
Yeah, he beat up his brother.
And I hated it. I hated every second of it.
But he also looked really good for the first time in a long time. I dug the short hair and the darkness in his face. He finally didn't have to fake the smile. He could let the inner...
Let the evil wash over him.
Yes, inner demons finally boil over.
I don't think it was terribly done by any means. It just hurts because I love the Steiner brothers, and I'm a Rick man.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Rick just continued on like, what was that? We're just gonna keep fighting.
Yeah. He's like, well, I'm not gonna stop fighting just because.
Announcers made the comment about he didn't even realize what had hit him literally, and just continued on. That's our Rick.
He doesn't stop. There's no give up in him. Not like his two-timing brother.
We go to a commercial for Uncensored.
And what a commercial it was.
Where we get random clips of wrestlers fighting with props, while robot narration talks about the things you will see.
Yeah, it's like a rap-ish list song where they just list off things.
Rules are for fools. Order now.
Yeah.
So we come to our 10th match.
Okay.
Hollywood Hogan versus Sting for the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And Michael Buffer makes the introductions. So let's get ready to hope this one doesn't get screwed up.
Yeah.
Let someone go over.
Let the crowd
Please.
cheer.
Just let somebody go over in a non-convoluted... It can still be like a fucked finish to an extent, but it can't be that fucked.
Yes, not so fucked that it takes 3 fucked up months to figure out an ending to it.
Mm-hmm. If only Hogan had Pat Patterson's phone number to figure out a finish for them the last time. But why would he do that? And Pat wouldn't help him at that point.
Depends on what he offered. Wink, wink.
So the Stinger runs to the ring, only to be whipped by Hogan's weight belt, followed by being choked by it and his coat, trying to force the Sting to tell him who the man is. And the fight spills to the floor, where Hollywood keeps up the attack with strikes, back rakes, and running the Stinger into guardrails several times. And back inside, Hogan works a knuckle lock when Sting would fire up momentarily, only for Hollywood to hit a boot to the gut to regain control. Hogan with right hands, clotheslines, axe handles, body slams, and elbow drops. But the Stinger fires back with right hands and a Manhattan drop, before using the weight belt and running Hollywood into the railing, only for Hogan to avoid a Stinger splash against the steel. And Hollywood capitalizes with more belt shots, eye rakes, biting, and right hands back in the ring, only for Sting to reverse a whip to deliver a Stinger splash, followed by applying the Scorpion Deathlock.
Get him!
But Hogan reaches out to grab the ropes.
Son of a bitch.
Sting charges in with another Stinger splash, only for Hollywood to pull the ref in the way.
Ref bump.
Poor Charles.
Sorry, Chuck.
Allowing Hogan to clothesline Sting down. Nick Patrick then comes running out, kicking Charles Robinson out of the ring, while Hollywood hits the leg drop for the pin. And no, Stinger kicks out.
I mean, come on. That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Hogan starts complaining about the count before throwing rabbit punches to the head of Sting, causing Patrick to pull Hollywood away by the hair.
Ooh.
Hogan with a back suplex and tries for multiple pin attempts out of a knuckle lock, when Stinger would power his way back to his feet momentarily. But he's too weak, so Hollywood rolls up Sting for a near fall. Hogan then tosses Stinger to the floor to ram him into more guardrails until one's blocked and reversed, allowing Sting to roll Hollywood back in, only to receive a low blow to slow the momentum. Hogan with right hands, but the Stinger begins to no-sell and flexes, beating his chest and hits 2 more splashes, followed by landing the Scorpion Death Drop, only for Hollywood to kick Patrick on his way down.
Roof bump.
Son of a bitch.
The NWO, including the newly acquired Brian Adams,
Yeah, ain't he great?
run down, with Sting fending them off, when Savage would sneak into the ring, clocking Hogan with a spray paint can,
That fucker.
allowing Sting to make the cover for the pin and the win.
And you!
Post-match, Stinger finds the can and spray paints WCW on Hollywood's chest, when J.J. Dillon would come into the ring to hand Sting the belt. The Stinger then leaves as a fan jumps in the ring, but security stops him as Tony says his goodbyes, and we go to credits.
Hey guys, it's not completely clean or whatever, and it's too late, but still,
We got an ending.
Sting, we got an actual ending. Like, I still think it's too late, and of course Hogan is just not going to take the clean pin. He did allow Sting to kick out of the leg drop, and he allowed himself to get spray painted, so it's like 60-40.
Yeah.
I mean
the last time we saw Hogan take a clean pin was against Piper, and then the next day it just was like it never happened. So
yeah.
At least Sting has the belt, so hopefully we're not going to come out on Nitro the next day and have some sort of stupid loophole that because Hogan kicked Nick Patrick on the way down that the match was actually stopped, and now we have to have another title tournament or something.
Nick Patrick, he took it on himself to replace.
Oh yeah, it wasn't the actual referee. Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, it's like I think it was decent and better than I expected of a finish, but still just like it still feels too late.
So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of SuperBrawl VIII?
I liked DDP and Benoit a whole lot. It's probably my favorite match on the show, as well as Jericho and Juventud was a good time. I'm sad about the Steiners and Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea is an ass.
We have definitely a better show than what we were left with at Starrcade. I enjoyed the fact that Booker and Saturn could turn that match into something and, can continue the lineage of the TV title after what's his name? Rick Martel's little injury during the match. I shouldn't say little because it was a big injury.
Yeah, basically career threatening as he comes back and gets a separate injury.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a better show. It sure has its share of shit in there, but they're at least showing that they're trying to do better.
This show proves that when WCW pulls their head out of their ass, they can actually put on a good show that contains good wrestling and storyline advancement. Like, obviously, the 2 matches leading up to the main event, they're not good matches.
No.
But they're setting, like, Luger and Savage, it's setting up what's going to happen in the main event. And the Steiners, like,
That's an angle that's
been running for couple months at this point.
That was the payoff, yeah.
And it's the payoff. I mean, we all know the Outsiders were going to end up back with the belts no matter what.
Yeah.
And it pays off the angle as well. So I have no, I mean, I shouldn't say no issue, but like,
you're not pissed off.
I'm not mad about it.
No, yeah. Like I don't love this show, but I don't hate it.
Exactly.
And I wasn't like pissed off watching it. I didn't want to like. While I wasn't cursing the fact that we do a wrestling podcast while watching it, which that's when I'm like when I don't like a show and I'm sitting here I'm like, why do I do this shit? I love my friends, but this is 3 hours of my life.
Yep.
And I mean DDP Benoit.
Yeah.
That one really got me.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy for Booker to. He's been around for a while, but to hear him get the pops that he got, curtain jerking, and then it was nice. I was happy for him.
It's come a long way from the days of Cole and Kane.
Yeah,
not their names.
Yeah,
yeah. Or the slipping on banana peels matches that they had with
Public Enemy.
Was it Public Enemy or
Sags and
Nasty Boys?
Yeah, Nasty Boys. Like, why can't I remember Nasty Boys? I was about to say the same thing. I was about to say their actual names instead of the Nasty Boys. Yeah. That's funny.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right. Fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So, what are some of the best moments of this show?
I think Chris Jericho's comedy spots were actually funny.
Yes,
and he's like kind of done stuff like that before, but this seems like a new leaf, and they're new, so they're not annoying, and they were clever, and he didn't do too much with it. I thought that was really fun because he's been trying to creatively stand out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Chris and Hoovy were fun. Getting to see Jericho grow a little more into his shit heel character, kind of dickish, prickish ways. Already mentioned the Booker T, Saturn, Rick Martel having to wing it for the second half and skyrocketing Booker from there.
Yeah. I mean, no matter how we feel about this bizarrely jumbled heavyweight title booking that's been going on for a while now, it still feels good to see spray paint on Hogan's back.
Yeah.
No matter, it's like it's like I said, I still think it's too little too late, but you can't help but get a little bit of warm fuzzies when he finally did something close to the right thing.
Yep. Savage getting his revenge via the spray paint can.
You love that Macho's getting away from NWO.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Because there is no need for that.
It was good to finally see. I've been waiting. I couldn't remember exactly when the Steiner explosion happened. So,
I mean, you guys know.
I knew it was getting closer once the hair got cut, but I couldn't remember how long.
It needed to happen.
Yeah, soon
because it had already kind of become annoying the last time we watched them have a match.
Yeah, I mean, I was dreading it, and I still had the same emotional response that I knew I was going to have. If they're going to do it, you just got to pull the Band-Aid off. Your eyes might water for a minute, but you got to let the wound breathe.
Liz a little shout out because she took full advantage of the no DQ match and just walked right in there and scratched out Lex's eyes to save Savage. Yeah. I enjoy seeing her getting a little more involved.
You mean, yeah,
more and more instead of just standing out in the ring clapping and hiking up her skirt.
She's, gouging her new boyfriend in the eyes.
Yep. Maybe that's where they knew it was love.
Yep.
How about most disappointing?
The news about Martel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is sad.
That's up there. I mean, some of the stuff on a pay-per-view, I'm fine with angles, but I do want to see good wrestling, and 2 angles in a row kind of wears me a little thin. Ultimately, I loved it for Booker, but I thought that the first and second match combo thing just went on a little long, so I lost interest.
I mean, it was 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it went on so long.
The biggest issue with doing that is that you've now had a guy, and in this case Booker T, you've had him wrestle twice. He only has so many moves.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to repeat things that you already saw in the first match.
Yeah.
And so even the crowd was hot for the first match.
They were not for the second. And
the second one, it took a little too long. But I think a lot of it was because they were calling it on the fly, and so they didn't have the
flow wasn't there.
The game plan wasn't there because it wasn't supposed to be Booker T.
Yeah. And I think they did.
I'm giving them leeway on that.
Yeah, I will. Though,
yes, it did take.
Since I've learned that, they get the leeway. But while I was watching it, I was like, this is one guy having two matches in 30 minutes to open a pay-per-view is asking a little much from the audience at home and in the arena. But
let's just have a three-way dance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or they have whoever wins has a match with Saturn on
next show
Nitro tomorrow night to sell that, or whatever. But
that would make too much sense.
Yeah, it would make way too much sense.
It's like I think we've talked, or I don't remember exactly what I'm trying to say here, but basically WCW is making themselves just look like fucking idiots because we've already spent the last 2 years with the NWO doing this, and now Raven and his band of rejects are going to come in and start making their own demands and not have to even the score it's dumb.
I have another double-edged sword thing where there's two angles that are set up earlier in the show, and both of them pay off in the show as opposed to them happening before. But we wouldn't have watched them. But it just feels like it kind of telegraphs it to where it's not as exciting when the angle plays out because it only happened 15 minutes, 45 minutes ago, or whatever the time difference was. But at least they're not the best with telling you the backstory on commentary or with production. So in WCW, that could have been an issue if Savage runs out or at the end, but they didn't inform us. Whereas with WWF, that wouldn't be a problem because they're better at formatting a show and they're better at keeping you informed and putting together packages and stuff. So like I said, it's the double-edged sword where I'm seems like it's too much for one evening, but in WCW, if it didn't happen that night, it almost, you would unless you were watching everything, you wouldn't know any about it anyway because Tony Schiavone is a bad announcer and they don't have the production.
They just kind of make remarks
yeah.
Oh, that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
But why did it happen? What was the context of what happened?
With WWE, we would get a 2-minute package with all of the clips that we need to see and the motivations.
I want to jump back
to... One man's burden.
Yeah.
I do want to jump back to best moments for 1 second because I totally forgot. But the opening video package...
It was fun.
It was... Mm-hmm. It was better than what they've been doing lately.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I just...
Yeah.
I forgot about it until you said something.
Yeah, that is a good call. That opening package was good for WCW. But my favorite match of the show is usually DDP and Chris Benoit. But that's both of those guys are out there with something to prove and both looking great doing it. I love a match where a guy loses and still doesn't lose anything because he left it all out there, and that's what we got.
I was not a fan of Hoovy losing the mask.
Yes, Eric Bischoff just has this hard on for everyone not having their mask.
Yeah.
We go through this big
Tenay's
Mike Tenay thing of the secrets and the stories and the history behind the mask, and then the first chance they get on one of their new guys, it's let's just rip your mask off. Literally, rip it off your head.
Yeah.
Which was extra. It's it'd be one thing if Juventud took it off himself, but Chris Jericho, you're doing a good job being a heel.
Yeah, if you're gonna
let the guy from a historic wrestling family take his own damn mask off if it's gonna have to happen at all.
If you're gonna do that, then spark up a feud between Jericho and what was old Brad Armstrong's character's name back in the day, where he wore a mask. He was with the Freebirds or something. I don't know. He was Fantasia, I think is what his character was, or something like that. But do something like that where rip off Brad Armstrong's mask, but don't do it on fucking Hoovy.
Yeah, but I will say, handsome boy.
He is.
How about best performer of the night?
Benoit bladed in.
Give it to Booker.
Yeah, I was going to say Booker. That was
Booker for
his star-making performance.
For him, like, figuring it out. Yeah. But the Chris Benoit's intensity. That was the match that I had the most fun and was most excited watching. It was the most exciting performance for me. Yeah. So.
And how about most surprising?
I mean, again, the Rick Martel. I didn't realize the
Martel thing is probably the most surprising. I mean,
yeah.
The obvious answer is the Scotty Steiner turn, but we knew it was coming.
It's still. I will say that I knew it was coming eventually, but I was still surprised. It still got me because it happened so early. I figured the match would go on a little bit before something like that would have happened, and I didn't know for sure that it was going to happen here. But when he just immediately hammers him in the back like a minute and a half into the match, I popped. I cried. I cursed.
I mean, surprising, but not surprising at the fact that I was able to spot Bryan Adams without really seeing Bryan Adams. All I saw was his hair.
That's funny.
Because they didn't really show his face at all. He just kind of ran in and was, hair flying behind him.
Yeah, I just caught, I was like, oh, well, Scott Norton was the first one that ate the punch. And then after that, I was like, oh, the NWO's out there. Yeah. They're all going to get hit by Sting.
And I like how he's immediately on the B squad.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Not sorry.
Making their way to the ring.
It's trivia time. This week, the category is What Happened When?
What happened when?
What happened when?
So I'm going to give you the show. You are going to give me the main event of that show.
Oh, yeah, this one.
It's 5 points if you get it without. 3 points if we go to multiple choice. The show was Return of the Funker.
Shit. The main event.
I know. I'm like, well, I know one guy in it, but it's like, was it a tag? Was it a... I'm just going to guess.
Oh, you're going to go for it.
I'm going to go for it. Why not? I have like no points.
What would Funk do? He'd just go for it.
3 points behind.
Oh, I'm only 3 points behind? Cool. That's pretty cool. I might be 6 points behind after this. I'm going to go Terry Funk and Shane Douglas.
That is incorrect.
The Return of the Funker.
I think I have another idea of what it might be, but I won't be saying it. You can go to multiple choice now, by the way.
Yeah, let's just do multiple choice
I can't
then.
guess.
All right. Your options are Public Enemy of Rocker Rock and Johnny Grunge versus Sabu and the Tasmaniac, Paulie Dangerously and 9/11, in a double tables match for the ECW Tag Team Championship. Cactus Jack versus DC Drake with Sandman and Woman. The Sandman with Woman and Terry Funk versus Cactus Jack and Shane Douglas. Or Public Enemy of Rocker Rock and Johnny Grunge versus the Triple Threat of Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko versus Taz and Rick Steiner with Paulie Dangerously in a three-way dance for the ECW Tag Team Championship.
Shit. I want to say the one that called out to me that I was thinking of, but I couldn't remember who all was in it or if they were just run-ins, was the Cactus Jack, Shane Douglas, Funk, and I don't remember who the fourth person was. Sandman.
You want to go with that one?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
That is incorrect.
All right. Was it the Rick Steiner?
No, it was Cactus Jack versus DC Drake.
I don't remember who the fuck DC Drake is.
It was the only match we've ever watched of him.
Okay.
And literally, when we watched it, we went, the show's called Return of the Funker.
And Funk's not in the main event.
DC Drake? There's a box at ringside, and during the match, Terry Funk jumps out of the box.
Yeah, because it's at the end. I remember us complaining about it, but in my mind, without you jogging our memory, I was just like, well, it has to be the one with Terry Funk in it because it's Return of the Funker.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, because as soon as you said that, I'm like,
for you guys.
Who the fuck is DC Drake?
Yeah, I'm sure there's 30 minutes of us bitching about DC Drake on that show.
If any of you listening know what happened to DC Drake, let us know.
He probably wrestled 3 more matches in Jersey and then retired.
Yeah. He owns a Wawa.
There we go.
He's probably doing well.
Next week, Living Dangerously 1998.
Ooh.
It was time for Paul E. to finally name a pay-per-view after himself.
That's right.
This was the fourth one.
And the music from this week's show is the theme from Super Brawl. And Sting won our main event, so we play his music, Sting/Crow by Jimmy Hart.
Caw, caw, caw. I don't know how this one goes off the top of my head.
If you like this episode or any of our others, please go out there and rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast at. Do as Michael says.
5 stars or no stars. We're putting in the work.
And if you have any questions, comments, concerns,
We're going to Jersey next, so if you got any ideas for Jersey, shoot them our way. Slide into our DMs. Give us a shout out, something.
that's right. And if you have any of those things, you can always email us, WrestlingHistoryX@gmail.com, or find us on X, like our friend Sam did
Yes.
here recently.
Oh, Sam.
Thank you for...
You shared similar opinions.
That's right.
Exactly. But you can find us on X at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTO. X. We'll talk to you next week.
Laters. Caw.